everybody, what's going on? It's Coach Callaway, and this is this week's Coach's Corner. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, here at CoachCallaway.com, we agree with maybe the most successful investor of our lifetime in Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett famously said the best and most important investment you can make is investing in yourself, that the more that you learn, the more that you will earn, unquote. Coach's Corner and CoachCallaway.com is exactly about that. We are doing these messages on a weekly basis so that you can start your week off right, so you can receive the smartest, most reliable, and honest elite performance coaching and mentoring available, period. Our approach is unmatched in its accuracy, real-time strategy, and actionable habits and behaviors that we share with you on a weekly basis right here. We want to enhance your personal life and your professional life and your financial life. The value that you gain from us on a weekly basis will empower and equip you to succeed at greater levels in every area of your life. That is my promise and my guarantee to you. We want to be a blessing to you on a week in and week out basis. And today is not going to disappoint, it's going to deliver for you. Today's topic is titled, The Most Important Conversation You Will Ever Have. So what would be the most important conversation you think you would ever have in your life? Well, the most important conversation you'll ever have are the ones that you have with yourself. It's that internal self-talk. Those are the most important conversations. I want you to think about it this way. You can walk away from all other conversations. You can walk away from people when you're engaged in conversation. If it's a conversation you don't want to be in, you can disengage and walk away from it. You cannot walk away from your internal voice. It's always with you. The conversations we have with ourselves are always turned on. We wake up to them. We walk around with them all day. That internal voice goes everywhere you go. It's always with you, and you can't walk away from your internal voice. You have to pay close attention to that, therefore. Your self-talk is critical. Your self-talk is so important to the results, achievements, and accomplishment you ultimately get in your life. And if that self-talk will lead you to acting upon it. If you're thinking and meditating and having that internal self-talk, it's going to lead to behaviors in your life and action in your life. That's going to lead you to a result. Our self-talk is also rooted in our belief system and what we believe in and what we believe is possible for ourselves. It's rooted in what we think about things and what we believe is capable in our lives. And of course, those internal conversations are rooted in a lot of emotions sometimes, and it all packaged together does drive our behaviors. In our playbook that's at the website, CoachCallaway.com, titled Roadmap to Success, the laws that govern success, we dive deep into those very fundamentals that I just laid out, into our mindset, into our thinking, and what we believe is possible. We talk about how your mindset and your thinking leads to your emotions, and how your emotions lead directly to the behaviors that you have in your life. And when you start acting on it and your behaviors and habits are now established, that is exactly what leads to the results that we get in life. Those internal conversations are rooted in all of that. So the big question I want you to ask yourself today is this: what influences have you allowed to contribute to your mindset and contribute to your belief system and contribute to your thinking and your emotions? Those outside influences are so important because they are going to have a direct correlation to the way we think, the way we feel, and ultimately the way we act and behave and the habits that we have in our life. And that is what generates all the internal dialogue that we have in those self-conversations. For me, growing up, I can tell you, it all starts with you at a young age. When you start developing your belief system, you're told what you should believe in, and then your experiences as you go through life and get older, certainly in those outside influence, begin to reshape that or maybe change that belief system and that thought process that we have and that mindset that we have. I can tell you, for me, growing up was extremely challenging, and knowing that self-talk and that self-inner dialogue is so critically important to the things that we achieve in life. I want to use my example for you, and I want you to not just hear my example, but relate my example into your life. See, for me at 2 years old, when my younger brother was just born, he was a newborn, my mom was divorced, had no money, had no job, had a newborn, had a 2-year-old in me, so she sent me over to mom's. I was shipped over to my grandparents because my mom had no way to take care of both of us. She literally could not afford me financially or emotionally at the time. Given my circumstances growing up, I can tell you it was extremely easy for me to have self-dialogue and self-talk that was very negative in my head and inside my thought process. Because when I was shipped over to my grandparents, of course, as I got old enough to start realizing that I wasn't with mom and I wasn't with dad, that my dad wasn't in my life, and my mom was very rarely in my life, and everything was negative in her life for the majority of her life, actually. And living with my grandparents and having my grandparents raise me from age 2 all the way till 18, when I moved out on my own, it was really not the ideal situation. Now, what they did provide was a roof over my head most of the time, but it was in very, I was gonna say modest living arrangements, but we lived in low rent apartments my entire childhood and teenage year. My grandfather was an alcoholic, and when I say he was an alcoholic, he was a bad drunk for most of my childhood. And when I say a bad drunk, I mean our little apartment that we lived in with me, my grandmother, and my grandfather, little bitty kind of low income apartment. When he would come in drunk, I will tell you that it was kind of a crazy environment. And it was not a happy environment. He came in, he was very vocal, he cussed a lot, he used profanity, he yelled a lot. It was an unsettling environment growing up in that environment. And I can just tell you that that type of environment and that type of home life did not establish or lead to any confidence in my life. It certainly didn't lead to any peace in my life. And as I got to be school age and became old enough to have friends and get outside the house and play and do those things, I began to have other challenges and things in my life that really impacted my self-talk and what I felt about myself, and eroded away any confidence that a young child might have. I had crossed eyes, both my eyes were crossed, and that was not easy when your child got made fun of a lot. And of course that led to glasses, and I mean those big Coke bottle glasses that I had to wear. And it generated a massive amount of insecurity in my life. And on top of that, as I got into school and started trying to get through school and graduate from one grade to the next, I had a learning disability on top of all that, and that learning disability wasn't ever diagnosed, so I never got any help about it. I have a major case of dyslexia, and it negatively impacted my ability in school, and my reading comprehension was not good, and I had horrible, and I mean horrible, still do today, I have horrible spelling. I can't spell. My English assignments in school, my grammar, not good. All of that was impacted in a negative way because of my dyslexia. And so I struggled big time with traditional education and traditional schooling. And back then there was no IEP, and parents today know what I'm talking about, right? We didn't have an IEP. We didn't have all this extra help back in my day. If you struggled and failed in class, you just failed. Oh well, that's the way that it was. And then I can tell you, not only did I have all these negative circumstances, a crazy home life, living kind of very low middle class, and crossed eyes and dyslexia, and a family who struggled financially, living the way that we did. I mean, my mom would get evicted from apartment after apartment after apartment growing up, and that led to major embarrassments in my life. I was embarrassed basically just growing up, and my self-confidence again was impacted in a very negative way, and my self-talk was a major challenge to me because I really had nothing positive to point to. And most people, when they come from a background similar to mine and they have those types of circumstances, they kind of just grow into the same lifestyle as they become adults, because it's what they know, it's what they're used to, it's what they think is possible, is only inside that environment that they were raised in. Their mindset and their thinking is kind of shaped by all of that, and they think this is the way life is for me and my family, so that's just the way life is. And those circumstances really become a comfort zone for them. Even a negative circumstance becomes what's normal and becomes what's comfortable in their life. I used to tell my mom all the time, "Mom, you need to say something positive every once in a while." And her reply all the time was, "There's nothing positive in my life, son." And the vast majority of her life, that was a true statement for her. But as an early teenager, around 12 years old, I made a huge decision for my life. My decision had a major impact on my life and on my future. I decided my life was not going to be like that. I decided I was going to be different than all of my family and all of the example that I had in my life. I was not going to be comfortable living like my mom or my grandparents or my dad. I wasn't going to be comfortable living like all the other family members that we were associated with, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins. I mean, no one in my family had real success. No one had real prosperity. No one had real wealth in their life. We were a family of low standards, things with evictions and repossessions and divorces and bad relationships. When I say there was no real prosperity or happiness or success in my immediate family that I grew up in, it's exactly the circumstances that I had. But I decided that I needed something different. I wasn't going to accept that, and that wasn't going to be comfortable to me. As a early teenager, 12 years old, 13 years old, I decided I needed a major transformation in my life. I needed to fix myself. I needed to fix my circumstances, not accept them as the way that it is in life. But I was alone in this type of thinking and belief. There was no one around me that thought like this. Everybody else thought negatively. And I knew I had to do it alone. I knew I had to be different. I knew I had to break the mold in my family. I wanted to be the one in my family, the one that changed my family's history forever. And the day that I grew up and became an adult and had kids, I didn't want my kids to have these struggles, these embarrassments, and all the things that I had to deal with. So again, it was around age 12, and then I decided that I'm gonna make a personal connection and a personal, spiritual connection with God. And I leaned into Him because I was alone here on earth in the way that I felt I wanted to live my life and the way I wanted to think and the mindset. I wanted a success, prosperity mindset. I wanted to know that life could offer me more than what I knew and saw in my current circumstances. And I knew that God created me with greatness, and I knew that God loved me, even though it felt like at times my mom, my dad, and people in my life here on earth didn't really love me the way that I needed them to, but I knew that God did. And so I was alone physically on earth, but I had a spiritual connection with God. And that was just something that I decided to do. And like I said, 12 years old. I got my first Bible when I was 12 years old. But when everybody else is making fun of me or talking bad about me or trying to destroy my confidence or destroy my happiness, my hope and all that, I decided I was going to start to develop a mental barrier in my life, a mental toolbox. I was going to start to work on a different mindset in my life. And as I got to be a late teenager, like 18, 19, 20, and kind of got more maturity, I really started to understand that, man, that mindset is so important. And that mindset and that belief and this mental toolbox that I was going to work on was going to begin to change my internal self-confidence. It was going to begin to change my view of the world. It was going to begin to change my self-talk, that conversation that I have internally with myself. And that is so important. So instead of boxing myself into a lifestyle that this is all that it is out there and this is all that I can do, or being afraid of everything outside that comfort normal box that everybody tried to construct in my life, I was going to break out and jump out of that box and get in a different place. So mentally, I did that. I jumped out of that box mentally. And I can tell you that when we get into that place of complacency, that's very dangerous. Complacency is insidious in our life. You can't be complacent. No matter what stage of life you're in, I'm telling you right now, complacency is insidious, and insidious meaning dangerous because it develops gradually over time without being even noticed. So it's a lifetime of circumstances and influences in our life over a long period of time that develop these types of mindsets and thinking and emotions in our life. And that's why it's so dangerous, because it doesn't just happen overnight. It's a slow developing process, and that's where complacency sets in. But I knew that I had to change all of that, and I was willing to change all of that. So in my life, just like in your life, there are too many opportunities out there for you. You were created with greatness. You can build a different mental toolbox in your life. You don't have to settle anymore. You don't have to accept where you are. You don't have to accept average. You can strive for more. Refuse to accept normal, average, comfortable things in your life and have a different internal dialogue with yourself. When you refuse to struggle against resistance, you're going to stay the same. But when you say, man, I am going to put forth the challenge, and I'm going to put forth the work, and I'm going to put forth a struggle against the resistance in my life, then the effort required to oppose resistance will be met with an equal amount of success in your life. We must develop the attitude and the thinking and the belief never to stop fighting, never to stop breaking through, never, stop pushing against the resistance of circumstances in our life. We need to take a strong mental place in our life. We need a strong mental fortitude in our life. A strong mental fortitude is developed as it's fostered by your internal conversations. These conversations that you have with yourself, your self-talk, builds this mental fortress in your life. And then you'll watch those outside influences, begin to have a different impact on you, right? That is so important. And if you're not watching your outside influences, if you're not monitoring your outside influences, you're putting yourself in danger of not achieving the maximum capability that you have in your life. Whatever you allow into your life, whatever you allow to sow seeds of influence in your life are exactly what you're going to end up getting out of life. When we sow seeds into our life, when we ingest whatever influences that we have, and it impacts all the stuff that I'm telling you about today, it begins to harvest a result in your life. The second you wake up and open up your phone every morning, the second you walk out your house and leave your home, the second you check emails, all the things that we do every day, we're letting things into our life. And the majority of the things that most people let in and get influenced by are not going to benefit them. It is actually poison in their life. That phone, when you wake up and you roll over and you grab it and you're looking at emails and you're looking at whatever you're looking at, if it's not building a stronger mental fortitude and it's not building you up and giving you confidence and encouraging you and giving you a new mental place so that it drives the type of internal self-talk that is necessary to go against the resistance and the challenge in your life and overcome in your life and ultimately achieve greater things in your life, then it is extremely dangerous to you. You've got to monitor those things. You've got to know what you're letting in, and the device that we have, these phones and the iPads and the TV and all the ways that we get influenced today. Famously, Coach Nick Saban, maybe the best, I believe the best college football coach of all time. He famously coined a phrase when he was talking about the outside influence towards his football team is rat poison. Well, I'm telling you, there's a lot of rat poison that we just let into our life, and we willingly digest it into our life. We look at it, we listen to it, we allow it to be around us in the social circles that we have. You have to monitor the influences in your life. So number one, monitor those influences that are coming through your phone and those devices we have. I am so purposeful in what I allow to be on my phone and what I allow notifications and the things that I allow on my phone. I'm very specific and purposeful that those things are things that are in the positive category for me, that's going to build me up and lead me to accomplishing the things that I want and not frustrate me, create negative emotions, and feed me a bunch of poison. Number two, the people we hang around are equally important. The people we hang around and socialize with and talk to are so critical because, again, that's a major influence in our life. And I'm very particular in who I allow into my life and who I hang out with. I start every day with putting on my armor. I must protect my mind from all of these poisonous rat poison out there. I purposely, generate the exact type of self-talk that I want in my head and in my heart and my spirit. I do this very specifically and very purposefully by selecting what influences and messages I allow in every day. And I mean every day. Once I grab that number one influencer in my life, my phone, I only allow the type of message that will build me up and increase my confidence, increase my value, and motivate me to greatness and inspire me to achieving greater things in my life. That is working on this mental toolbox that I'm talking about. It's building this mental, fortress around your life, and you're armoring yourself. You're putting on that daily armor around your mind to overcome the challenges and break through the resistance and circumstances that are going to show up in your life. And the same is true with that number two influence, the people, friends, and associates that you have in your social circle. Protect yourself by limiting that group that you hang around. Protect your mind, your emotions, and your self-talk. Because when you're in those verbal conversations, it leads to additional internal conversations later on. Some people will tell me, and these are people really close to me, that sometimes they say, Chris, why aren't you more social? Why are you, sometimes they even call me rude, because I don't like getting into conversations or hanging around certain people. They say, that's just rude. You need to be a little more, friendly. You need to have a bigger net, and you need to go to the neighborhood hangout and do these things. And my answer is always, why? Why would I go to this neighborhood hangout or put myself in this situation or, be in this social setting when I know that the people in that setting aren't going to build me up, They're not going to give me the confidence that I need. They're not going to be, a place that feeds me positive, valuable information. Instead, they're going to poison me with their negativity. They're going to poison me with their belief and their mindset. And if it's not in line with mine, I don't need that influence. I don't need to sow that seed into my life. I need influence that's going to help me achieve my goals. And so I need to protect myself from that, from those types of environments. In the morning, when I get up, I start to go through a very specific morning routine. I go through my morning routine and I am very purposeful on the self-talk that I want to generate during the day. And so what I am feeding myself with, when I'm at the gym, I'm putting on some very specific music or educational, inspirational, confidence building messages that I like to play in my earbuds if I'm at the gym, or if I'm here in the house, I've got a speaker in my home gym that I turn it all the way up. And it's feeding me with the message that I want that's going to lead me toward my goals. That's so important to do every day. Every day you start out with the influences that's going to generate the self-talk that you need to generate the emotions and the behaviors that's going to allow you to be prosperous in the day and get what you want to get out of the day. Put you in the right mental place, see? Generating that self-talk that I need to win and overcome and achieve is so important. So I am encouraging you to do the same thing. You need to be strong mentally to overcome the challenges of life and to get the results and produce the accomplishment and achievement that you desire in your life. And none of that can happen if you don't have the right self-talk. Those conversations are so important. You've got to know what you're telling yourself is the most important conversation that you'll ever have. And I've just given you a lot of information and some very significant, important ways that you're being influenced that impacts that self-dialogue and that belief and that mindset. And protect it, man, and get it where you need it to be to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Self-talk is the most important conversation you will ever have, period. I hope this has been a blessing to you. Remember, always inspire to be better and make plays, not excuses. Until next time, God bless.